Good evening, everyone. This is Kate at Pure Pondering. Um, this one is actually going to be a pondering video, and I haven't done one of those in a while. Can you turn your volume down a little bit, please, ma'am? Thank you. Mike and I are getting ready for bed. I apologize for the glare on my glasses, but I have my computer in front of me so that I can read off some of the research I've been doing. I started looking into this one particular question because a few days ago, and I've posted before on another video that last weekend my mother decided she wanted to buy Micah some chicks. So we went to Cow Ranch, and Micah got so focused on the ducklings. Please excuse the light flickering. That one does that periodically. Micah was so focused on the ducklings that she couldn't even look at the chicks that she'd gone there to pick out. So my mother chose 5 sapphire gems, 5 what are they, baby? Golden sex links, and 5 barred rock chicks. And then she went ahead and got Micah a couple of ducklings because Micah was just so focused on those ducklings. And Micah was extremely happy. Now, here's the deal with when my mother decides to buy pullets or chicks for Micah. It's actually, my mother wants eggs. She can't have chickens where she lives. She's in an HOA. So she buys Micah the chickens for me to take care of so she can have eggs. And that's the way we work things out. That's how it is. But there was one lady who Mom was telling about taking Micah to buy her chicks. And this woman says, "Oh, she's really spoiled, isn't she?" Like, I'm not sure just how we come to the conclusion that a child is spoiled because her grandmother buys her livestock to raise in order to feed the family. And when that child helps with the care of that livestock, helps with all of the maintenance required. She helped me build, my brooder pen that I had was not that large. It wasn't large enough for an additional 17 birds when we already had 3 hatchlings from the incubator. But she helped me measure the boards that we needed to build a bigger brooder. She helped me to build the brooder. She's getting pretty decent at using a power drill. So I'm trying to figure out. She helps me put the bedding in. If she's awake at the time that I'm doing the feeding and watering, she helps with that. And then she goes and handles the chicks so that they will be friendlier as they grow. So I'm trying to figure out where we get spoiled from this. So I went and did a little bit of research because that's what I do. I research the heck out of things. So some places, most of the places that I found included in their definition of a spoiled child, that they get whatever they want and throw a temper tantrum if they don't get it. So let me see. When told no, they throw a tantrum until they get their way. Never satisfied with what they have. They think the world revolves around them. They demand to have things now. They're sore losers. They don't give up until they get what they want. I have to think on that one. They refuse to complete even simple tasks until you beg or bribe them. Another website said that This one is more focused on the parents. It says the parents give in to the child's every request. The parents deliver empty threats. And so say they're going to do something if the child doesn't do what they're supposed to and then don't follow through. Parents are inconsistent with expectations. The parents shield their child from difficult emotions. I have to think about that one too. They overindulge the child with material items. So I guess purchasing 15 chicks and 2 ducks is an overindulge. Is overindulging Micah. Need to bribe your child to get things done. What's a paycheck? You don't teach, let me see, the parent doesn't teach manners and courtesy. They allow the child to disrespect them. And the child has too much say in family life. And I remember when they went into the discussion of that last one, the child having too much say in family life. They wanted to say that it's not good for children to participate in making decisions for what, things to go on with their family life, because that's the parents' responsibility, and the children should not have anything to say about that. Having been very deep within the homeschooling communities, especially the unschooling communities, which is a philosophy. It's actually a lot of work to be an unschooling parent, because you have to work very hard to know what your child's interests are, find as much as you can to surround your child with related to their interests, and find mentors if they need mentors, and do everything you can to make sure they get a well-rounded education as far as reading, writing, math, science, social studies, by giving them all of this information about their interests. So it takes a lot of work. A lot of times when people hear unschooling, they're thinking more of totally hands-off and detached parenting, where you're not really interacting with your children. But unschooling is completely different. You have to have constant interaction with your kids. Now, I continued researching, and then this afternoon I found an article with a different perspective on the term spoiling children. And it goes into 6 myths regarding spoiling children. Now, this article was written by Chick Mormon and Thomas Holler. It was posted in Parenting Magazine, and then where I found it was a repost on parentguidenews.com. Now, if you go down through this article, I won't read all the context. I'm just going to go over mostly over just the headers. Myth number 1. Kids should not grow up believing they can have anything they want. What do we tell our kids a lot of times? Or we tell them they can't have everything they want, but then we tell them they can be anything they want to be if they work hard enough. And this article goes on to say the reality. Okay, the myth is that kids should not grow up believing they can have anything they want. The reality, according to the authors, is that it is desirable and an example of effective parenting to teach children they can have anything they want, but they have to work for the rewards. They may not get everything they want in this moment, but you help them, you ask them questions. They go and say, when a child asks you, can I have one of these at the store? You respond with, sure, how are you going to pay for it? What are you willing to do to get it? Ask them, how much money do you have with you? Or Do you have a plan for getting it? So you help the child figure out how to get the item that they want. It's like with Micah, with her tooth fairy money, her birthday money, um, money that she gets from helping around the house, things like that. She saves a portion of her money. Of course, recently she's been on a bit of a buying binge, so she knows she can. It's easier for her to afford things at Dollar Tree. So if she's got a little bit of money, it tends to burn a hole in her pocket. She wants to go to Dollar Tree and find something. Um, but we work on her working with me, or me working with her to help her figure out how she's going to come up with the funds for the things she wants. Or, if it's something that she can trade for, something that she can figure out how to make. We work on those things. She comes up with some pretty good ideas on how to be creative and things that we can make together. Myth number 2, spoiled children exist. Now, according to these authors, the reality is there is no such thing as a spoiled child. They say spoiled is an inference, a judgment that people make after noticing behaviors. And they go on to say further into this that they advise people not to judge a child as being spoiled, because if you make that judgment call, then every time the child makes a bad choice or inappropriate decision, that's going to reinforce your determination that the child is spoiled. Whereas quite often it's the behaviors are not spoiled behaviors, but the child is, maybe they're tired. They've had a bad day. They are still working to learn how to properly react to things. That sounds like a lot of adults I know. Why is it, this has puzzled me for a long time, why is it okay for an adult to have a bad day and to react poorly when they are having a bad day or when they are tired, but our children are expected to behave perfectly at all times? And we adults have more experience, so we should be better able to control our reactions and our behaviors. And we should be better able to work with children to teach them and to show them how to react better. Myth number 3 that they point out: spoiled is a good descriptor of some children. Remember, this is a myth. They say that the reality is spoiled is never an accurate descriptor of children. Spoiled does not describe a behavior, it judges it. Okay, so I jumped ahead a minute ago. It says, do not label children as spoiled. Not out loud and not in your head. When you label children as spoiled, you tend to believe that they are spoiled. When you believe they are spoiled, you are more likely to notice anything they do that could be interpreted as spoiled. So just don't judge them. Don't describe children that way. Myth number 4. Excuse me just a moment. Myth number 4. It's important to tell children when they are acting spoiled and to call them on it. Now, the reality, just as labeling children as spoiled is never a good parenting move, neither is telling them they are acting spoiled. When you call a child spoiled, what he is likely to hear is spoiled rotten. Do you want your child thinking of himself as spoiled rotten? And I know this is discussed a lot in behavior discussions, in areas and places where people talk about interpretation of words and how we see ourselves. And if you tell a child that they are bad, then they behave more and more badly because they think they are bad, and so they have no choice but to act bad. If you tell a child they are good, but they sometimes make inappropriate choices, and then offer to help them to make better choices, yes, we want them to make better choices, don't we, baby? She's over there whispering good choices. So you make sure that you're using the words that encourage them to learn from their mistakes and to make better choices. Never call them bad and never call them spoiled. Myth number 5. Children who have an abundance of material things are likely to be spoiled. According to the authors, the reality is not that this is not true. And then they go into an example that's very similar to the one that I gave earlier. A friend of theirs bought a horse for his 2 young boys. A close friend of his, hearing about the purchase, said, "There you go again, spoiling your children." The author's question, is it spoiling the children if they contribute to the purchase price, clean the horse stalls, and play a role in feeding and grooming the animal? Is it spoiling children if they learn about safety around large animals, bond with another creature, and discover the self-discipline it takes to become an accomplished rider? Is it spoiling kids if they connect with their father or their mother working alongside the parent in the barn, while sweating, laughing, and better understanding each other? Whether a child has a 10-speed bicycle, a horse, or a convertible is not an indication of whether or not he's spoiled. Look instead at how he got the object, how he uses it, and his attitude toward it. This gives you more information about whether he's acting spoiled than the amount of material things he has. I strongly agree with the point these authors make. Of course, a lot of it is because that's the type of attention and the type of things that we tend to purchase for Micah. So, of course I agree with them because this perspective goes right along with my parenting style. When Micah was 2, I couldn't find her for a few minutes. When I found her, she had gotten her little toddler-size rake and was cleaning out her quail house. I have pictures of that on Facebook. I'll look for it later, sweetheart. She wants to see the pictures on Facebook of her at 2 cleaning the quail house. She helps me clean the chicken house. She helps put bedding down in the chicken house. She helps take care of her goats. She helps me in the garden. She helps with feeding and watering the dogs and cats, and the dogs and her cat. So, is it spoiling her to purchase additional livestock for her? That, yes, I will have the primary responsibility of taking care of the livestock because I'm the adult. She's 6. But having the livestock is helping her to learn responsibility. Isn't that right, sweetheart?
Yeah.
You're learning how to take care of your animals?
And put away stuff.
And it's always, as long as she's being careful, I love when she is helping to take care of the babies in their brooder box. Until they get to the point where they want to fly out of the brooder box, then it becomes more challenging. Now, the last point that these authors make in their article, myth number 6, spoiled children need to change. Now, they say that the reality is that it's the parents who need to change. Parents need to change their attitudes about their spoiled child and instead see a child who is attempting to satisfy his or her needs with an ineffective behavior. Parents need to change their own behaviors and be willing to take the time to teach new behaviors to their children. This is something that I see so often. And I see it with myself as well as with other parents. There are times that I catch myself reacting poorly. Especially, as I said earlier, we adults, when we're tired, when we've had a bad day, when we're stressed out about work, we have a tendency to react poorly. Well, our children mirror our behavior. So if we want our children to behave better, we need to behave better. And if we want our children to learn effective behaviors, we need to find the ways to teach them those effective behaviors. This is just, and one of the things that, there goes the light again, huh? You see better? I won't get into the disciplinary technique that can be a very hot topic in parenting circles. But if we all look at our own approaches and talk with our children and work with our children, we can teach them, as we learn more effective behaviors, we can with that, teach our children more effective behaviors. Please let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this, and perhaps we can have some good discussions on this topic. And always remember, don't call a child spoiled just because you see their parents or their grandparents getting them something, especially if it's something that serves a purpose. Well loved. Yes. And I'll leave you with this. My grandparents and their friends, these are folks who grew up in the Depression. And, got married during the Depression, grew up just before. And between World War I and World War II. But my grandparents and their friends always said, children are meant to be spoiled with love. Just work to make sure that they are not mean. Everyone have a wonderful day. Blessings.
And peace out.